Thanks for joining me. Today is our rural healthcare webinar, the sprint to the end of the year. This is a busy time of the year for the marketing department. Let's take a look and see what our marketing programs might consist of in December. One of the things I always want to have a conversation about is Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas. And there's a lot of conversation and that goes on this time of year for the last several years about this. But in my opinion, there's a way you use Happy Holidays, and there's a way you might want to consider the Merry Christmas part of this. First of all, in Texas, rural America, chances are you probably want to drift towards Merry Christmas if it is related to Christmas. I mean, the ad in the newspaper the Thursday before Christmas, that's a Merry Christmas ad, in most cases in Texas. If you're going to do one ad and it's a seasonal ad, and it starts in Thanksgiving and includes all faiths during the month of December and the New Year, that's a Happy Holidays. I mean, there's holidays involved there. And so Happy Holidays becomes more appropriate. But just so you know, I don't want you to get caught in a situation where you have a public relations problem. So Happy Holidays includes all of the holidays, and from Thanksgiving to New Year. Merry Christmas, if it's the week before and you're saying Merry Christmas, that's probably the safer bet there. So just be aware of it. So in your toolbox and also in the public relations conversation here, our steady flow of articles to the newspaper, your wellness, your flu shots, holiday safety. Someone from the newspaper is going to pull something off the wire and talk about holiday safety. Everything from drinking and driving and not drink and drive to electrical plugs around the house when the little ones are around, and trees, and don't let them dry out, all those kinds of things. Well, why not have that story coming from your hospital and your medical providers with safety information coming from a local source? Here we have once again building new opinions of the hospital and the providers with new information. All of those are in the toolbox section of SRJ Easy Healthcare, and it's just a way that you keep your name in front of the community members during this time of year. And granted, I mean, everyone says, well, should we really be doing anything? People aren't really paying attention. They've got Christmas parties and they've got different things going on. Well, a couple things. Yes, you need to be doing something. We want to be there even if it's just a headline, or a billboard or a brochure, because this is the time when we really want people to be hearing from us versus the competitor 40, 50, 60, 70 miles down the road. We want to be in front of people. This is the busy time. When activities in our wellness center and all become more prevalent and important. So let's keep out there and keep in front of the community during the holiday seasons. Okay, advertising, same thing. I popped in. I like programs to as much as possible parallel. So your press release and your ad are parallel, talking about the same thing. So this time of year, the wellness exams and flu shots. But it's also, we can bring in a service line. And in this case, I've chosen physical therapy for the month of December. There's some other service lines that are in SRJ Easy Healthcare. But physical therapy is a good one. We're going to start getting into the season when activities through our emergency room, slips and falls occur, lots of stuff going on, and this is a good time to raise the level of awareness of our local physical therapy program. If you don't have physical therapy, I think everyone here on the list does, though. Then like I say, there's some other service lines that you can consider as well. Again, the Wellness Center during December, continuing that conversation. That's another service line that is going to be there for you as well. We're probably getting more serious now. In December, of course, we've got our tools put together. Now in November, we start to promote it more. In December, and we have a big push the last week of December and into January, taking advantage of those goals that people set. There's New Year's resolutions. So speaking of the new year, 2018, like how did that happen that we got to 2018 so quickly, right? And we're gonna, that's one of the things, there's 365 days in the year, and I like marketing to begin on day number 1. Let's take advantage of the whole season, with our messaging. And January is going to start with a Happy New Year, so Happy New Year, be safe during the holidays, don't drink and drive, all kinds of messaging, and social media is going to be a great one for that, by the way. So we've got all kinds of opportunities for messaging right from day number 1 of 2018. But I want to kind of focus our attention more on the getting started with a plan. I consider myself to be a strategist, so I think planning is a real important component here. And I really want to encourage you to concentrate on your marketing program and determine what we really need to focus on in 2018. What service lines would be beneficial to you. What your providers are always going to be important, because for the most part, none of us on this call are going to be admitting patients to diagnostic services or to the hospital or to PT. So promoting our providers is always going to be important. But how are we going to do it, and becomes the part of the marketing strategy. And find the best ones. The best ones meaning what's going to give us the most bang for the buck. One of the things I don't encourage you to do is to have something completely different. I don't want to see 52 different ideas of things in the newspaper, something every week that's different. Notice, back on some of the other slides here, November and December, we're focusing on basically 2 things: wellness exams and flu shots. We drift in with a couple things. If we're going to do something with the Great American Smokeout, we start introducing the physical therapy, but we don't want to be bouncing around, all the time. So that's part of the planning process, of course. This is the phrase I use all the time in marketing: exposure equals awareness equals sales. And I know that's sort of weird sometimes to think of healthcare as selling, but it is. If we're doing it right, I think we need to increase the amount of exposure. We need to do more marketing, more public relations, more sales calls, more of all that. That increases the awareness. People begin to make new decisions based upon new information. And that ultimately is going to have people interacting, with our, facilities on, when they need us. They're going to choose us over the competitors down the street. It's a matter of prioritizing. So we've identified what we're going to promote, and now we have to pick some of these things, from the list of tactics to do that sort of thing. And so, that's where that marketing mix comes together, where we pull in public relations and social media and advertising and all that sort of thing into a complete and total package. Remembering that basically every service line that we're talking about is going to include most all of these components. If we're going to promote physical therapy, for instance, we're going to use social media. We're going to write a press release. We're going to feature it on our website. We're going to have a physical therapy brochure. We're going to go out in the community and do something. Maybe we do back safety courses at some of the industries. We're going to have to knock on doors and talk to the orthopods from neighboring communities and ask for referrals back into our community as appropriate. We're going to want to talk to our own providers and remind them, of our services. So that sales component is there, and of course advertising, to let people know about, our capabilities there. We're going to use all of these, and we want to figure out, the process there. And just remember, it all happens in conversation. We need to begin having the conversation, even with our team. I say even, absolutely with our hospital team, letting them know our capabilities. Because remember, the more they know about physical therapy and our physical therapists and what's physical therapy used for, and what are the results, the more likely that they have an opportunity to refer a family member or friend to one of our providers to access our physical therapy. You begin having the conversations. So one of the places, just like all the other things that this group of people that are on this program think about, are sort of the who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's part of the planning for 2018. Is what are we going to talk about, and who's going to do it? That is a key component, by the way. Who is taking responsibility for this? It's one thing to say that we're going to be in the parade in 2018. We're going to be the 4th of July parade and the homecoming parade and the holiday parade. But exactly who's going to be responsible for that? Identify that. When is it going to be done? I often say Christmas comes every year on the exact same day. We should not be surprised when, oh my gosh, Christmas is here. What are we going to do? It should be part of our plan, and we should know exactly what we're going to do. How, and I could add to that, how much. I think it's important, for a couple, 2 or 3 people here. You're the one that kind of has the control over the budget there, and we're going to have to spend more money. That's been a reoccurring theme that I've tried to have with folks for a long time now. You've got many millions of dollars for your budget every year. You've got even more millions in your structures and in your equipment and in your recruiting efforts and all that kind of stuff. You've got to have more money in the budget for marketing. Marketing takes human and financial resources, and you've just got to start spending more money there. People make new decisions based upon new information, and if you and a few people in the radiology department are the only ones that know that you have a new piece of equipment in radiology, it does you no good. You might just as well not have spent the money. We need to get out there, and we need to use the human and financial resources to tell the community about what it is that we've got and what it is that we're capable of. Now here's the little problem. No one really cares about healthcare until they need it. And so you have to be talking about your services and your products and your team members and your providers on a non-stop, continuous, always basis. You've got to be catching up with them and building relationships with them on the human relation side standpoint, and they need to see you passing through their Facebook feed all the time. They need to be hearing from you when they go to a program. They need to see you and your team members as they're walking down the parade line. So all of those kinds of things begin to support the new relationships that are forming and the new opinions that are forming. So who's going to do it? What are you going to do? Where is it going to be done? When is it going to be done? Why? Well, from the marketing desk, it's to support the efforts of the program. It's bottom line. We're doing this because it's going to generate more interest in our service lines, and hopefully stop the out-migration, or at least slow it down, to other areas, which I think is a tragedy. I heard some interesting stories this summer. For instance, swing bed, which is in most cases there's a whole lot of money in swing bed, and yet local individuals in their local community end up in a swing bed program back in the bigger city because they were kind of talked into it, and we really didn't tell them, we didn't keep up with them, we didn't befriend them so they know that they could recover right here in their local community. And I think it's awful, quite frankly, when that happens, because we're putting families and friends on the road, 70 miles into the city for a 40-minute trip, and 70 miles an hour back for another 40-minute trip, and we're doing that for days at a time. It's just not right. It's not what we need to do, and especially when they make a decision that they did not know that we had that capability. So I'm really advocating that we really notch it up considerably in letting our community know about all that we have available for them. This is a fun thing to do, and just really emphasizes the commitment that we have to our community. Make a list of everything the hospital participated in, from your payroll numbers to the number of employees, to the number of diagnostic procedures, to the number of lab tests that you did, to the certifications that you achieved, and think of this as a newspaper ad for this moment of discussion. Think of it as a newspaper ad where you've got one thing after another, and it takes the whole side of the newspaper from top to bottom. This big, long list of all these things that your hospital did. You sponsored a team on the Race for the Cure. You raised $3,600 because of it. Just go on and on and on, and list everything that's going on, and publish that the first week of January. I mean, like, just say we did all this. I don't say it like that, of course, but but that's the kind of thing. And you can turn around, you can do the same kinds of things with your with a press release as well, in a little slightly different format, of course. But another great thing for those of you that end up with a good good audit report, by all means, if you got a good audit report, brag on it. Get a story out and talk about the audit report and the significance of it. I love it when you're bringing new money into the community. There's federal funds that you may have received. There are state funds you may have received. There's a grant that you got a rural grant for $50,000, and all of those things. It's like this new money, this fresh money that you're bringing into the community. Those are all wonderful story opportunities that you really want to brag on.